Good morning again. So today I will be your trainer for the first part of the day, and then our colleagues, Dr. Anisa and Dr. Adnan, will join us virtually. First of all, I'm going to present you the second topic of GrassMED, which is the green sites. And then later, we're going to present the third topic, which is the EDE, or energy design and equipment. Okay, so for the green sites, and to introduce it, I will tell you what are the different chapters of the green site, what is a sustainable site plan, how to select a site for green buildings, what factors are at play when choosing a site, and what are the major goals of sustainable site planning. So the different chapters are here. First, the GS1 is the pre-developed sites, then existing infrastructure, then proximity to basic services, site plantation, green parking structure, and green parking capacity. Those are the 6 criteria to be evaluated for GrassMED for the green site topics. As I mentioned here, those criteria and those are the indicators that will help us to evaluate those criteria. I will talk later about each indicator and how to calculate it. So first, what is a sustainable site plan? A site planning and design help first create affordable housing to access critical services and transportation, and help reduce physical footprint by creating more compact design and buildings and parking lots, as well as taking care of the conditions of trees and soil during construction. So the process of site planning helps to develop the site without diminishing or interrupting natural processes and characteristics. So we should follow those 3 steps and consider those 3 points. For the 3 steps, first, we need to understand and map the local conditions around the property. Then, we assess and sketch existing conditions on the site itself. Later, we can create a plan for developing the site. And we should consider as well those 3 points. First, the long and short-term costs, the human safety, and the natural ecosystems. So the location of a building can affect accessibility, environment, security, building energy consumption, use and reuse of existing structures or infrastructures, energy consumed by transportation, needs of occupants for commuting to the site, and local ecosystem. So when selecting a site, the team must consider many attributes of the overall system. So we should ask ourselves, what is the local climate of the project? Or has the site been previously developed? Is it connected to the local infrastructure and public transportation? What species in the area might use the site as habitat and been affected? What is the nature of the street life in the area, and how can the project contribute to community? And where do people in the area live and work, and how do they get back and forth? So a sustainable site planning consists of a whole system approach. The major goals, we can sum them here. First, for the sustainable site planning, it minimizes land disturbance. It restores the health of degraded sites, understands existing watershed plans and environmental goals that may be regulated, considers energy implications and carbon emissions, and it minimizes habitat disturbance. I will continue the goals. It provides wildlife corridor across a large campus whenever feasible. It applies for best practices for erosion control. It uses native plants and removes any invasive species at the site. It reduces the heat island effect, and it reduces, control, and treats surface runoff. I will continue. there are many goals here. It locates the building within a walkable distance to a range of other destinations, such as places offering goods and services. It incorporates transportation solution into the site, plans that acknowledge the need for bicycle parking, carpool staging, and proximity to mass transit. It considers site security, and it respects existing aesthetic view sheds from existing buildings, landscape features, and historic sites. So that's a small introduction about the sustainable plan. To the first chapter, which is the pre-developed site. Any idea what can be a pre-developed site? Any idea to share?
بناء قديم أو قائم.
Okay, any other idea? Okay. So we're talking here about the site itself. It might be a previous building, existing building to be renovated or retrofitted. But here we're talking about a site, a land, okay, before we build or we do our design. So first, I would like to tell you or to define what are the three different colors of a land. A land can be a greenfield site, or a gray field site, or a brown field site. So the greenfield site is an undeveloped land. So it's a land that has not been altered by clearing or filling, agricultural or forestry use, or is a preserved natural area. Okay? It's an untouched land. The gray field site is a previously developed area but left unpolluted. As for the brownfield site, is a developed or abandoned land available for new building, but it's polluted. It might be polluted by hazardous substances, pollutants, or contaminants. So pollution may halt development due to uncertainty about pollution amounts, uncertainty about cost of cleanup. That's the brownfield. So where can we plan our design? Brownfield. Let's see. A small comparison between greenfield and brownfield. So the greenfield, as I said, is an undeveloped, while the brown is developed. The greenfield can be a farmland, woodland, wetland, but the brownfield can be an industrial district, commercial properties, warehouses, etc. The greenfield it's green, clean, but the brownfield is contaminated. The greenfield can be in the periphery of the city, as the brownfield is the inner city. The greenfield is ready for development, and the brownfield is needing treatment before development. Those are some advantages and disadvantages of each type of field. I won't go through all the details. You can check them later. But we can define here what can be a pre-developed site. Okay? So a pre-developed site is a previous developed land, or a previous developed land. It's a land that has been altered by paving, construction, and or land use that would typically have required regulatory permitting to have been initiated. So location of the land is a crucial component of green building, as how the site affects the environmental performance of the building and its occupants. So the green building project conception should preserve open space, farmland, and natural land by building on or near already developed sites. So I'll go back again to those three types of sites. We cannot build a green building on a greenfield site because it's a protected site. We can build a green building on a grey field site because it's a pre-developed site. We can build a green building on brown field site, but it needs to be hazardous substances or harmful substances need to be removed from the site to protect the occupant life. So the objective of choosing a pre-developed site, let's redefine again and again sustainability. Sustainability is meeting the needs of present generations without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their needs. So it's important to preserve nature to the next generation. So the location of the site where the green building is intended to be constructed and the environment surrounding the location play an important role in the overall sustainability of the green building. So the site must be the building in the site must be constructed in such a way that the surrounding natural environment and the related ecosystem is not affected by any means. And while conducting the procedure of the site selection, the surrounding also waterways, nearby farmland and protected wetlands must be taken as main consideration in the decision. That's why it's recommended that the chosen site must be a previously developed site. So what are the GrassMED recommendations for the previous developed site? First, we need to find a previously developed site whose ecological benefits have been already reduced. Okay? Is it okay with this idea? Then we find the site that meets the building program needs. So don't force a building design and building size on a site that cannot accommodate it. This will help minimize impacts from grading and erosion issues and will better allow for maintaining the site natural resources. And we should avoid building on undeveloped sites to preserve land natural spaces, protect habitats, and reduce the disturbance in the ecosystem. So, as per GrassMED, the minimum scoring to get this minimum scoring of GrassMED for a pre-developed site, the percentage of the pre-developed site should be at least 50%. So 50% of the land should be a pre-developed site. Okay? So to get the minimum scoring. Here in the table you can find for commercial building and for residential building the minimum requirement is 50%. If we have if the pre-developed land is between 50 and 60%, the project will gain 3 points, etc. So if we arrive to 90.1 to 100%, so if all the site is pre-developed, for commercial building the project will gain 7 points, and for residential it gains 10 points. Okay? Is it clear for the pre-developed site? Okay. What are the existing infrastructures, or what are the infrastructures? Any idea? Yes? Electricity and sewage. Transportation. Any other options? Afwan? Parking. Roads. Okay, so let's check. Infrastructure, let's go back in the history. Since the Roman Empire, we can find, or even before, we can find that civilization or human life needs to be connected together, to have roads for transportation. So we can always find old bridges from ancient history. Then we can see the steam engine that revolutionized infrastructure due to carrying capacity and speed. And then we can go further in history to our recent area where the telecommunication infrastructure is the new road network. And then we can talk about our actual modern societies that depend on both physical and digital infrastructure. So a site with existing infrastructure is a location-efficient site. So that is often in, as we said, previously developed areas, already served by infrastructure. So building in previously developed areas reduces the need for new streets, utility lines, water pipes, and other infrastructure. It can also spur neighborhood revitalization by reusing and renovating existing infrastructure. So those are the different types of infrastructure, like dams, telecommunication, water supply, sewage system, electric grid, railroads, ports, highways, waterways, bridges, airports, and there are many also. So let's talk first about electricity. It includes generation, transmission, and distribution. And those three components must exist in a developed land. For water, water infrastructure is fundamental to life. So it provides potable water to meet the needs of the building to be constructed. Sanitation network is essential to take away wastewater generated by the building. Communication network is important as well to the operation of the occupancy of the building. We need to choose the location that offers transportation option and variety of nearby destination, because if transportation exists, it protects air and water quality by reducing the distance people need to travel or to drive to do their needs or to find their needs, and it makes it easier to walk, bike, or take public transit as well. And therefore it saves money and resources by using existing infrastructure. So utilities including gas, electricity, water, and communications are often carried under roads or over bridges to form a network across the country. So for GrassMED, we need to first find a site near existing infrastructure. This will reduce the negative impacts of infrastructure development on the environment. We need to avoid building on a site without infrastructure, because building on a site without infrastructure, it will require building new roads, managing watershed, excavating water wells, collecting rainwater, installing an on-site wastewater treatment system, and produce green energy for auto-satisfaction in energy and others. I won't go through all the details of infrastructure. You can check them later. And we will also talk about collecting rainwater in the topic of water later. But to comply to GrassMED regarding existing infrastructure, here we have two options. Option one, if the building is located near existing infrastructure, and option two, if the building is located in a region with no existing infrastructure. So for the option two, GrassMED requires a sewage pit with an appropriate treatment plant in the site. It's mandatory, okay, if no existing infrastructure. So for the scoring, for a commercial building, for option one, so if the building is near existing infrastructure, the project will gain 4 points. For option two, the sewage pit will gain the project 4 points. As for the residential, the project will gain 10 points. Okay, so this is about the existing infrastructure. If anyone has any question, please don't hesitate to ask me. Now we're talking about proximity to basic services. So what are the basic services? The types we can name here at least 3 types of basic services: basic life amenities, public services, and public and other type of transportation. For example, some examples of the first type, which is the basic life amenities. We're talking here about existing restaurants around the site, groceries, supermarkets, education centers, childcare, worship places, post offices, medical center, pharmacies, banks, libraries, entertainment centers, parks. Any other idea? Okay, that's the first type. For the second type, which is the public services, we're talking about healthcare system, waste management facilities, mobility and maintenance services, fire prevention, extinction and rescue services, information for citizens, city police, public transport, transport of goods, management of infrastructure, civil, commercial, and land register, cemetery services. Any other public services? So human needs lots of services to be able to live in a community. Okay. So why it's important, the proximity to basic services? First, basic life amenities should be ensured near to or within the building site premises in order to connect the building users to the community. Regarding the necessity of an existing infrastructure, the building user should access the roads to the city so that they will be maintained by the municipal service department that handles streets or roads. And ease for transportation of resources for construction purpose must also be kept in mind. So for transportation of the construction needed for the vehicles needed for construction of the building, we should think about this road also. So the site should be accessible to public and other means of transportation is a good choice to ensure accessibility. So for GrassMED recommendations regarding the proximity to basic services, first we need to choose a location that offers transportation options and a variety of nearby basic services in order to protect air and water quality by reducing the distance you have to drive and making it easier to walk, bike, or take public transit. And we need to choose a location-efficient site, well connected to the larger region and close to amenities such as employment centers, shops, restaurants, schools, and services. So a site that has good transportation connection to the rest of the region can attract also businesses that want easier access to customers, workers, and residents who want to be able to reach more jobs. So for commercial buildings, only distances from public transportation and restaurant will be evaluated. So it's easy for commercial buildings. The minimum requirement is the you will see later is a certain distance from the building to the public transportation and restaurants. For residential, it's more complicated. So the basic services considered are public transportation, schools, restaurant, mini market, banks, pharmacies, medical center, groceries, post offices, and worship places. So the table of the scoring will be as the following. For commercial building, as I said, the maximum allowed distance to public transportation should be 100 meters. If it's 100 meters, the project will gain 3 points. Clear? And the maximum allowed distance to restaurant should be 500 meters. For residential, we have the public transportation 100 meters and the other services 500 meters, and each of it will gain 1 point. That's for the proximity to basic services. Let's talk now about site plantation. That's the 4th chapter of Green Site. So what is a site plantation? We're not talking about big sites, big green sites, because when we talk about green spaces, first we think about big forests, parks, large areas, okay? So here, we're talking about mini forests and gardens. So mini forests can thrive in lots as small as a typical parking lot, for example, small area on school's campus, on the perimeter of a residential project, etc. And gardens can be planted in places that are often overlooked to create food forests, for example, in urban neighborhoods. So even in dense urban areas, there are strips of and pockets of land that could be opportunity to create green spaces. And before planting can begin, we need also to know what kinds of plants can grow or will grow in this site. So what are the benefits? Site plantation can improve connecting with nature, protecting natural wildlife, enhancing the quality of life, balancing man-made with natural, defining entertainment area, and boosting value for a property. And it can improve as well, generally, health, comfort, and well-being, and productivity of the building occupants. So the benefits can be split to three main areas: the physical health, the mental health, and the economy. For the physical health, of course, site plantation will improve air quality by producing oxygen and by eliminating dust, smoke, and pollutants. It can also lower blood pressure and lower stress, because studies have shown that looking at plants and trees, even if only through a window, can lower blood pressure and levels of what we call stress hormone or cortisol. So high levels of cortisol have been linked to issues with learning and memory and weight gain and heart disease. Also, a site plantation can reduce inflammation in the body and boost immune system, because being outdoors reduce inflammation in the body, which in turn reduces autoimmune disorders, irritable bowel syndrome, and even cancer. And it boosts the immune system, allowing the body to better fight routine illnesses like colds and flu. As for the mental health, site plantation can improve short-term memory, can reduce anxiety and depression, and it can enhance focus and therefore productivity. For the economic benefits, a well-landscaped home or building can add approximately 6 to 25% of value of the property compared to a property without any landscaping. So, and for the energy bill savings, well-planned landscaping designed for energy efficiency can reduce heating and air conditioning costs by 10 to 30%, and we'll talk about this later. And certainly, and certain plants, especially the plants that are native, it requires less water to thrive, which means less water bills. So plants can be integrated inside and outside. And in this chapter, we're going to talk about site plantation outside the building. And later, tomorrow in the biophilia, we're going to talk about inside plantation. So outside plantation can be on roof or on outer vertical walls or in the gardens around the building, etc. So first, let's talk about green facades. Green facades are created by purposefully growing climbing plants, both up and across the facade of a building. So while most green facades are designed from plants that are either planted directly into the soil or in pots at the base of exterior wall, some green facades place containers at varying levels across the building, especially in multi-story buildings. So the benefits of green facades for a building, for the environment and for the health, the benefits are acoustic buffering, biodiversity and habitat, biophilic design for improved mental health, increased thermal insulation of the building, and healthier cities and cleaner air. As for the green roofs, one of the site plantation. Green roofs are that are partially or completely covered with plants and vegetation. So I'm talking about, good morning, Mr. Muhyiddin. So green roofs, we're talking about, as I said, partial green roof or complete green roof. These are also known as sedum roofs, grass roofs, or living roofs. So the vegetation is usually planted over a drainage membrane that sits on the top of the roof along with additional layers, as you see in the figure, such as root barriers and waterproofing product between the green roof and the roof of the building. So when used correctly, the combination of products help the plants thrive on the roof without causing damage to the building structure. So you can use a modular green roof tray system also that contains all of the component parts in a self-contained unit that can be placed directly on top of water roof layer. So these are two examples of green roofs. What are the benefits? It promotes biodiversity and support wildlife in urban areas. It provides thermal protection and reduce energy use because why it can reduce energy? Why green roofs can reduce energy use? It's a layer of insulation on the roof because instead of capturing the sun rays directly on the roof, the sun ray, the layer of the green roof will insulate the sun, it will absorb itself the sun rays. So it improves air quality, help retain and purify rainwater, provide good sound insulation. It provides good sound insulation for the building. It increases the lifespan of the roof. It helps blend buildings into their surroundings, reduces carbon footprint, and extends the life expectancy of the waterproofing. So let's talk about GrassMED recommendations, okay? For the plantation, now for the plantation shades. Use trees as a tool to provide shade during the hot summer months and to reduce the house's natural lighting. So we're talking here about which type of design, cooling design or heating design? Cooling design. So, yes. So trees should be planted where? Yesterday, Dr. Adel told us about the different facades of a building. So do you think trees should to provide shade to the building, it should be in a cooling design? It should be planted on which orientation? And east. So for our countries, it's necessary to plant because the sun comes from the south and it goes from the east to the west. So it's to provide shade for the building and to lower the quantity of sun rays to the building. So the trees should be planted on the east, west and south sides of the building. So in summer, their canopies provide shade, so it will reduce cooling costs. In winter, شو بيصير in winter? They lose their leaves, so no more shades. So it allows natural lighting and solar. It improves solar heating. So for the east face trees, it casts morning shadows on the building with a milder impact on the electricity bills. For the south facing trees, it provides mid-morning and early afternoon shading. And for the west facing trees, it blocks the hot afternoon sun. So these trees will have the greatest impact on the summer energy bills. But it's the combination of east, south, and west that will deliver the biggest energy saving in summer. To the north side, evergreen tree provided shade in summer and act as windbreak in winter. So it also improves if we plant on the north side, it provides windbreak in winter. So it's important to plant in all the directions and all the orientations trees. What are the recommendations of green facades in GrassMED? So use green facades. It's recommended because they are relatively simple, cost-effective strategy to beautify the building, attract wildlife, improve thermal performance of the building, and help clean up urban air quality issues. So choose the best type of plant also for your green facade. It's important to consider whether you prefer self-climbing plants that don't need or don't require any climbing assistance infrastructure. It climbs alone, or twinners, which aggressively send up stems around a support system. For the green roofs, install a green roof. When it comes to planning a green roof, you need to consider the weight of the system, the weight of the green roof, of the whole system, and the ability of the structure to support the system of the green roof. So there are lots of different ways to integrate green roofs into life. We can install them in places like sheds, garage, bin stores, bike storage unit, extensions, offices, repurposed shipping containers, etc. So we need to mention here that for green roofs, they do tend to be slightly more expensive than the traditional options. So when you consider the range of incredible benefits, there no reason to allow cost to play a determining role in your decision. So its benefits are high and are considerable. So we need to think about this option. And also the native plantation, as I said. So we need to select the right plants. Think native plants and edible plants. Even better, think that on edible and native plants. So new sites can also be used to plant species that are declining in the natural environment due to the loss of habitat. Here's some examples of species that are in our countries. For example, in Palestine, in Jordan. I don't know if you agree on our research. And for Jordan, the black iris. Yeah, okay. For Lebanon, for example, we have the wildflowers, and as well in Morocco, and the royal flower in Tunisia, etc. Now, the indicator of site plantation. There is an indicator to be calculated and therefore to be evaluated, to be scored in the end. So how to calculate or to evaluate a site plantation? We need to calculate what we call PAP, or percentage of plantation area. The calculation is the plantation area over the site of the building or of the site, the area of the building or the area of the site, we'll talk about it later, times 100 to get the percentage. So here we're talking about three options. Option one is when only the perimeter of the building is planted. Okay? Option two is only the perimeter of the site is planted. Option three, both sites and buildings perimeters are planted. Okay? So let's go with the option one, that was only the perimeter of the building. How we calculate it? We have two cases. If the building is squared or rectangular, or if the building is circular. If the building is rectangular or squared, so first, let's say that small a is the length of the building, small b is the width of the building, Big A is the area of the site, of the whole site, and X is the width of plantation. Okay? It's the width of plantation around the building. So we need to calculate first the area of the building without plantation, the area of the building. So it's A times B. Without plantation. Then we need to calculate the area of the building with plantation. How we can do that? How we can do that? So we have A times B, the area of the building without plantation. Then we have planted X, width of X meters of the building around. So we need to add those X, okay? It's the area of the building with plantation. Then the area of the building with plantation minus the area of the building without plantation, we will have the area of the plantation over big A, which is the area of the site. Okay? Same methodology, but for circular shape. For circular shape, we have the radius and the calculation of the circular area. Okay? The option 2 also we have two cases, but for option 2, when the perimeter now of the site, so we have the big site and we have the building inside the site, and we planted overall the perimeter of the site. So we need to calculate for rectangular or square shape. First, the area of the site without plantation. So if it's the area of the site without plantation, now A and B are the length and width of the site. Okay? So A times B. Now with plantation, we need to, last time we did a plus. Now we need to do a minus because the plantation is inside the site. So we need to do a minus and calculate the area of the site with plantation. If we do without minus with, we will have the area of the plantation over the total area of the site. Times 100, we will have the percentage of plantation. Same method for the circular shapes. Let's go now. Just a minute. Yes.
بخصوص الاريا احنا حسبنا للبلانتيشن اريا، يعني انت في المحصلة بدك البلانتيشن اريا من السايت، سواء كان يعني اذا في open space exterior open space بس مش planted بدك تخصميه برضه. يعني هون احنا بس بنحسب green spaces.
That's right, only green spaces. هلا if you have a garden, it's green space also. If you have grass, it's concrete. It's part of the site, but not planted. Yes. So during the building design phase, it's required that an adjacent open space with the greenery, including trees, grass, and flowers, it can for grass, it should cover at least 20% of the site area. So the grass recommendation is to have plantation area of at least 20%. Additional point will be awarded if more and more plantation in the site are planted, and additional points as well will be awarded if plantation is on the east, west, and or south side, and also if we have plantation on the facades. So this is the table of green sites. Here you can find, for example, for commercial building, the PAP, as we said, should be minimum 20%. So it's a minimum requirement. If it's between 20 and 25, the project will gain 4 points. And if it's more than 30%, for example, the project will gain 10 points. As for the residential, it's 4 and 4, 6, 8. And if the trees are located on east or west or south, it will gain 3 for commercial and 1 for residential. And if you have facades or green roof, the project will gain 2 for commercial and 1 for residential. The fifth chapter is the green parking structure. So we have two more chapters. We have the green parking structure, and we have the last one, the green parking capacity. So for the structure, parking conception, like many others, can be designed also environmentally sustainable. So parking and structured parking in particular means finding way to build and operate facilities in a way that won't negatively impact living conditions. So green parkings can be good for environment and for budgets as well. So while parking structures are typically not considered indoor environments, there are measures that should be taken to ensure that they are not contributing to health-related problems. So maintaining proper openness for natural ventilation, for example. Selecting waterproofing system and coating with low VOCs. And more efficient materials, technologies, and strategies for managing vehicles can reduce labor, energy, and building costs. Introducing permeable or semi-permeable materials like grass, natural stone pavers, or even previous concrete can create more efficient surfaces from storm water collection and purification. And further technology solutions can create more sustainable practices, both with the parking asset and to the large community. We'll talk about it. So let's first talk about the sustainable site. The process begins with selecting a site. The chosen site shouldn't replace a green field with a parking garage. Okay? That's we agreed on this idea. Parking must not be built on parks, farmland, wetland, or area with endangered flora and fauna. So as we talked for the building, same criteria for the parking. The permeable pavers. Permeable paving systems are porous, so they allow water to infiltrate the pavement and drain into the ground or sub-base rock underneath. So these pavement systems are just as strong and durable as traditional paving materials such as concrete, asphalt, or compacted gravel. They can be ideal for decorative barriers, entryways, ancillary parking areas, and exterior landscaping. It's important to consider that permeable pavers may not be durable enough to withstand the demand of high traffic areas. Okay, for high traffic areas, maybe we should not think about permeable pavers. We'll think about another option, which I will tell you after here. So here for high traffic parts of parking assets, we recommend to use what we call previous concrete. So previous concrete can be a great green option. It improves because it improves the absorption of water back into the ground, and it also absorbs more sunlight and heat while reducing the heat island effect. And the concrete is produced from abundant natural resources, so we are reusing or recycling materials. Grass parking lots and plantation. So here we're talking about plantation of the parking. To transform a car park into an ecological site, for new buildings it can be converted at the design phase, and for existing building we can recycle the asphalt area into natural terrain that reintroduce biodiversity. So what are the plantation benefits? Here, it provides shades for cars, especially in making green renovation to an existing infrastructure. Adding plants can be a smart and eco-friendly addition to any parking operation. It reduces the heat island effect. It absorbs CO2 emissions, prevents erosion and runoff, and it adds a welcome green appearance to the parking. Let's talk now about the storm water management. As the picture shows, consider water detention strategies, bioswales, rain gardens, and the design to collect stormwater and to reduce flooding. So rainwater harvesting, where permitted, where permitted, it captures rainwater and uses it for irrigation of the planting of the site. It's best to use water-efficient landscaping here that doesn't require a lot of water. Now, let's talk about safe pedestrian and vehicular circulation. Of course, here we're talking about big parkings. A safe and functional parking lot should have clear signage and visual cues to help navigation inside the parking. It should have designated pedestrian routes and limited vehicle speed, traffic calming features, and it should have also good visibility. Transportation demand management. Here, it incentivizes other modes of transportation. We can incentivize bikes, scooters, walking, public transportation. So the parking can include, for example, bike lockers to promote bicycle commuting, and facilities for public transit, such as bus stop in the parking. Also, the green vehicles. To incentivize using EVs, parkings can have, or we can add on our parkings an electric EV charging parking solution. Also, parkings should have also sustainable lighting. So it requires lighting to provide safety and security for pedestrians. So the lighting must be available and must be sustainable. We all know about the lighting design. So let's talk, for example, on the location of the lighting design. It's determined by analyzing lighting patterns to achieve effective illumination at different areas of the parking lots. So here, location of trees, for example, and other obstacles need to be considered when designing the lighting of the parking. The height, for example, is important. For small parking lots, the height of luminaires should be limited to 6 meters. As for the large parking lots, it can be higher. The fixtures also should direct light onto the surface and be designed as full cut-off fixtures. And also, if for additional shielding, can be provided with perimeter fixtures to block light for shining on adjoining properties. Okay. The type of light, of course, it should be efficient lighting. So we were talking about using LED lighting as the perfect solution, or other energy efficient lamp like sodium vapor, metal halide, T-fluorescent, and compact fluorescent. So in addition to energy costs of those lighting, maintenance costs can be significantly reduced through the use of energy efficient lighting, since you know that the lamp lasts 2 to 5 times longer than the conventional lighting. Also, the energy efficiency in operation can be achieved in operation of the parking lot. So the use of intelligent lighting in the parking system is important also, the intelligent lighting like motion sensor, etc. Now the energy generation in the parking. So solar energy, we directly think about installing photovoltaics on the roof of the parking. So solar energy technologies can offer an efficient means of providing lighting without need of utility lines. So the solar cell is sized according to the energy need and the number of hours of operation of the parking, and the solar panels can be mounted on a frame canopy above the parking, providing shade to the cars. So the green parking lots have, as you saw, it has lots of benefits as improve air quality, water quality, increase groundwater supply, reduce the urban heat island effect, less heat generated, reabsorption of water into the ground for recharge, remove sediments and other pollutants, and provide effective stormwater management. So these are some details to pay attention when we are designing structure of a green parking. I'm not going through all over those details, but the most important thing is how to evaluate a green parking structure. So we have here two options for GrassMED. For option one, if the parking is underground parking. The option two, if it is an external parking. So for underground parking, we need to calculate the percentage of underground. If we have underground parking, we need to calculate the percentage of or the PUGP. So place at least 50% parking lots underground. If we have underground, part of the parking is underground, it should be at least 50%. The more underground park area provided, the more scoring points are achieved. And establish a minimum interior greening requirement inside the parking, talking about ventilation, lighting, etc. And for the external parking, for the option two, we need to provide environmentally friendly external parking that has low negative impact on the environment. So let's list all we talked about. We're talking about permeable pavement system, bioorientation and on-site storm water management, landscaping, maximize shading and greening, provide undercover parking lots and roofs of undercover parking spaces, and photovoltaic roofing. As we talk also about energy efficiency in lighting, so lighting fixture design, illumination levels, control, and energy conservation. For the pedestrian-friendly design, walkways, pedestrian circulation, pedestrian connection to entrances, Disabilities Act compliance, and bicycle parking. So here are the scoring points for commercial building. So for the option one, as we said, it should be minimum 50%. So 50 to 60% will be awarded with 4 points, etc. To arrive to 100% underground parking, it will be awarded in 24 points. For the option two, as you see, we have 1 point for permeable pavers, 1 point for previous concrete, grass parking lots and plantation, storm water management, green vehicles, transportation demand management. And if we have undercover spaces percentage, 10 to 30%, 1 point, 31 to 50, 2 points, and below and after 50.1%, 3 points. And if we have roofs of undercover spaces and we use renewable energy roofing, we will get 1 point. And if we have eco roofs or green roofs, we will have 1 point. This is regarding the parking infrastructure. This is the last chapter of green sites. When you talk about parking capacity, we all have this picture in our cities, yes? It's familiar, those kind of pictures. So parking structures account for one of the largest land uses in cities and towns. Unfortunately, these structures are primarily inefficient and unsustainable.
For that reason, the underground parking took at least 50% because of utilizing the lands, right?
Yes. Yes, it will be more efficient if we use less land to have more spaces for parking. It will be more efficient. Here we're using here in this picture also less land, but not at the underground. It's above ground, but it's also efficient. So urban developers and designers are under pressure to develop smaller but high density and energy efficient parking structures that are functional and aesthetically appealing. So planning of parking total capacity depends on the availability of the space first, the size, the configuration and contours of a site. So there are various types of parking. Here we listed many types of parking. We are talking about each of them. Let's first start with the on-grade parking. On-grade parking can be like off-street parkings, like in this photo, and on-street parking. Those two types are the on-grade, called on-grade parking. Above grade parking, so this is a freestanding parking deck of 2 or more levels. This type provides maximum efficiency in terms of area, structure, and circulation. This is the least expensive after on-grade parking. So on-grade is the least expensive. The second one is the above-grade parking. The third one is the below-grade parking. This is commonly known as underground parking, as the picture shows. It's more expensive, of course, because we have the structure and mechanical system required to construct it, because we need here to ventilate also, to ventilate the area. The composite parking, the composites, it's above and below. Okay, we call it composite parking. The parallel parking, usually parallel parking are used in one-way streets. And the angled parking. The angled, it can be 90 degrees or can be other angles. And we have the multiple level parking. Multiple level parking, it's a building, when we talk about a building parking, okay? Which is designed specifically to be for automobile parking, and where there are a number of floors or levels on which parking takes place. So I'm not talking about 2 or 3 levels, I'm talking about a building parking. How to conserve the parking capacity? The proper utilization of multi-story parking creates, as we said, space saving. So such measure is a prominent feature of these parking lots. Also, it's a good idea to integrate area, we're talking here about commercial buildings, of course, to integrate areas for buses or van pools, which reduces the parking demand, okay, and therefore the parking space. And we can also talk about tandem parking that is becoming more common to keep costs down and to save spaces. So as the picture shows, when talking about tandem parking, يعني بيصفوا ورا بعضهم بيسكروا على بعضهم. Okay, here it's very important to measure the empty spaces between cars. So if this is the wrong option, and this is the right option to reduce the empty spaces. Underground parking of buildings. A variety of layouts are possible to fit the space. Flexible layout allows excellent space efficiency, so it's recommended for commercial and office buildings use. So here are some solutions to conserve the parking capacity. As we said, so if you have the multi-stories parking, we have, to conserve it, we have the reducing empty spaces, and we have the tandem parking and the bus option. So to comply with the GrassMED, for commercial buildings, if the percentage of area for van pools and buses is between 5 and 10%, it's a prerequisite. It's a prerequisite in GrassMED to have in a commercial building parking for buses and van pools. So it's a prerequisite to the area to be between 5 and 10%. If it's higher, more points will be gained. Okay, to arrive to more than 25.1%, it will be 20 points scored. If we have multi-story parking, 2 more points. If we have reduced empty spaces, 2 more points. For residential, if we have multi-story parking, 2 points. And if we have reduced empty spaces, 2 points. Okay? So those are the 6 chapters of green sites. Let's open the floor for some questions before we do a short quiz.
يعطيك العافية سابين. كانت مداخلتي على الشابترز GS1 و GS2 و GS3، وأكيد الملاحظة اللي بحكيها هاي مش يعني لا تعمم على الريتنج سيستم، هي سبيشال كيس، وأنا هيك عم بنقل الواقع الفلسطيني نحاول نسقطه على الريتنج سيستم. نبدا فيهم اول وحده البري ديفلوبد سايت. احنا الواقع عندنا والتصنيف الظالم للاراضي وتصنيفها كسي وبي واي، وانه جزء كبير من الاراضي ممنوعين انه نعمل له ديفلوبينج او نعمل فيه اي شيء، بخلي اصلا الاراضي اللي ممكن نستثمر فيها او نبني فيها محدوده ومشتته ومفتته. فموضوع انه يكون في بري ديفلوبد سايت شيء اصلا كان something وبدنا نعمله something else، يعني غالبا هي هاي كتير يعني ممكن ما نشوفها عندنا في فلسطين، لكن هاي مش الكيس الرئيسية. نروح على اللي بعديها اللي هي الاكزيستنج انفراستراكشر. معظم الاراضي عندنا هي جرين فيلد. نرجع للي قبليها برضو، احنا معظم الاراضي عندنا جرين فيلد، مش بري ديفلوبد. يعني اي بناء جرين او مش جرين حتى بنعمله ديفلوبينج من الصفر. حتى الانفراستراكشر، ما في انفراستراكشر عندنا. يعني احنا دورة البناء عندنا انه بنبني بعدين الانفراستراكشر بتلحق البناء، ما عندنا انفراستراكشر جاهزة بسبب شح الاراضي، وانه اي حدا بده يبني جرين بيلدينج او غيره بيهرب للرورال كوميونيتيز والمناطق المحيطة. فبنشوف حالنا بعدنا كتير عن الانفراستراكشر وعن المي وعن السيويج وعن الرودز، حتى عن السيرفيسز، البانكس، الهوسبيتالز. يعني الرانكينج سيستم هون بيعطي رانكس للسيرفيسز في الميترز، 500 متر 200 متر، بينما احنا عندنا كيلومترز. يعني ممكن أقرب مستشفى أو مركز صحي يكون بعيد 10 كيلومتر، 15 20 كيلومتر. فحتى البنوك أو غيره لأنه بتكون بس موجودة في الداون تاون، وكل الرورال كوميونيتيز اللي الناس بتتجه لإلها لتبني تقريبا ما فيها هاي السيرفيسز. فالكونسيرنز عندنا إنه الرانكينج هذا لما بدنا نسقطه على الواقع الفلسطيني، عندنا كتير من السكورز عم تهرب من البناء الفلسطيني اللي بدنا نعمل له رانكينج. يعني الا اذا في يعني ديفينيشن معين او كلاريفيكيشن معينه انه لو الجرين بيلدينج انبنى بعيد مثلا اتليست 100 مترز عن اقرب رود، فينا نعتبره انه في انفراستراكشر. اما انه اعتبر انه الرود لازم يكون جنب المبنى، السيوج والووتر سبلاي، البابليك ترانسبورتيشن مش كتير مثل البلاد الثانية. احنا عندنا خطوط سيرفيس بتوصل لمراكز المدن وللقرى المحيطة، بس لما بتبعدي ممكن 1 كيلومتر برا القرية او المكان ما في بابليك ترانسبورتيشن بالمعنى اللي بتخيلتيه. يعني بكون الواحد مضطر يا بده بسيارته او اشي سبيشال. يعني العيادات الصحية ما عندنا مستشفيات، لكن ممكن تلاقي عيادة صحية حكومية بتفتح يوم بالأسبوع لمدة 3 ساعات أو 4 ساعات. فإذا هاي ممكن to be considered health care service وناخد عليها سكور، أوكي. otherwise إنه كتير من السكورز هاي البناء الفلسطيني مش ممكن ياخدها بسبب واقعنا طبعا، مش بسبب مشكلة في الريتنج سيستم. فبس هاي كونسيرنز حبيت أنقلها حضراتكم. يعني
أول شيء ميرسي لأنه عم تشاركنا هالمعلومات. إذا بتتذكروا امبارح قال شغلة دكتور عادل، قال إنه نحن عم نتساعد سوا لحتى نعمل adaptation لGrassMED على الساوث ميديترينيان countries. ولهيدي الفكرة نحن we're looking for have a consulting committee مؤلفة من كل ممثل من كل بلد، وهيدي الكوميتي بدها تصير تدرس كل توبيك لوحده، كل شابتر لوحده، شوف كيف فينا نعمل له ادابتيشن على كل كونتري. يعني نحن مزبوط الكونتريز بيشبهوا بعضهم بشكل عام، بس كمان في كل كونتري عندها عندها خصائص خاصه فيها. يعني مش صعبه ابدا نقدر نعمل ادابتيشن على بيزد على الرياليتي اوف ايتش كونتري. سو يعني هيدا الشيء منه بعيد. اوكي، بس في شغله تانية كمان حابه اقولها، انه ممكن الجرين بيلدينج او اللي حابين نعطيه سيرتيفيكيشن ممكن انه ما يكون يقدر يكون عنده كل هول المواصفات، بس هو عم ياخذ سكورينج من غير ما طارح. يعني ممكن نقدر نركز على غير توبكس بيقدر ياخذ فيهم مور سكورينج، حتى لو ما اخذ هون سكورينج، حتى لو بس امن البري ريكوزيت، بس بيأمن سكورينج من غير ما طارح ليقدر يوصل للمينيموم ليفل اوف سكورينج، لياخذ المينيموم ليفل اوف سيرتيفيكيشن. مثل ما بتعرفوا قلنا امبارح في كذا ليفل اوف سيرتيفيكيشن، هي كمان لازم ناخذها مع الاعتبار. اوكي، بس اكيد ما في شيء بيمنع نعمل ادابتيشن بالجرين سايت حسب يعني حسب الواقع والديماند تبع كل كونتري.